Hey, dreaming how dreamers do. Most of my life feel like deja vu. Even when the pressure's on, I'm careful how I make my moves. Mamba mentality, I ain't come here to play to lose. Why would I play with you? But if you made me choose, I'ma go with me. You down to go with me? Of course it won't be perfect, it'll feel complete to say the least.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is Char. This is my guy, Tio, and my guy, Mike.
What up? What up? This is episode 8, All Things Considered, the podcast.
Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know where you're from, y'all.
All right. We just gonna dive in. What's that, Trey Songz?
I'm about to dive in.
On record. One of us in here got vocals, and it ain't that one.
You know, there's always a hater in the bunch. You know, it's always one. There's always one hater.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so y'all know we did one episode where we talked about politics a bit, but woo. Spoiler alert, not really, but
that siren that siren needs some water.
It was just the same as your dive.
No, that siren was a little dry.
You need some Bobby Valentino help.
Okay. There has been a change. As we know, Biden is out. He's going to finish out his term. And then Kamala, that is our Democratic representative, which is a huge change. I'm not going to say it's what did not, Joe, he's a little old. He need to go enjoy the rest of his life, So we got a fresh face, fresh mind in the building. I'm personally, no matter what happens or how I feel or not, if she is elected, people, let's just talk about history will be made on two fronts. We'll have a female president, go girls, okay? And we'll have a black female president. Like, that's wild. I think all of us could say our grandmas were shocked by Obama, but a woman, I think it would just be like, who knew that we could get here, like, in America? Whether she wins or not, just the fact that she is a contender, I think is just like a super cool thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, as a woman, like, it just means a lot to me to see a woman and a woman of color in that powerful position. It's amazing. And I have a little girl. Y'all have little girls. Like, and mine is a lot older. So I see the effect, right? Aria has never, she could tell you who the president is, who they work for, never has paid attention to anything politics or a commercial.
Yeah.
That Kamala Harris commercial, come on. She swears she the president or running for it. She can repeat the commercial like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like she'd be like, let's make America great again. I'm looking at her like, girl, what? But it's really cool to see like that impact that it's having on her. And I feel like as parents also, it's one of those times where you can use it to like open up a discussion, right? So when she is seeing that, I'm like, so you like, isn't that cool? Like you can do anything. You can be anything that you want to be. Like this is showing you, and she sees it. She's like, yeah. Like I want to do that. Like I'm gonna be a fashion designer and a hairstylist and a this. I'm like, girl, you can do it all. That's right. She's like, and I'm going to the Olympics. I'm like, you sure are. Yeah. Like, so that's the part of it, whether she wins or not, it's just, it's inspiring. And it's just, when we get so bogged down with the negativity of what is going on in the U.S., it is nice to see that with all the things that push us back, we are taking steps forward. We truly are.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How do y'all feel about it? I know y'all are men, so does it tickle your funny bone like it does us women?
Who won the rap?
Girls. I think it's indicative of like what we see on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I think there's a lot of pride that comes with women becoming more educated and more higher achieving and things of that nature. Just like you said, now we've got young girls saying like, man, that's something I could actually do.
Yeah.
They've never seen nobody in that space before. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just that type of imagery could be a huge positive effect for them, whether they strive to become a president or not. We're also having an increase in the number of women doctors, women lawyers, women in these spaces and positions of power in general. A lot of these C-suites for big companies now have black women who walk in and own the room, and they take up those spaces and they receive a lot of respect. And I think those effects will only continue to get better and better as we continue having, our daughters of the world.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer at this point. I mean, I feel we're all in agreement that, the more we're able to turn that TV on or, go on our phones and see somebody in a high position of power that looks like us, lets us know like that it encourages us to understand that like that could be me.
Yeah.
That could be me. And there's a but coming. There's just a disclaimer. But, on the same token, I do feel that it's our responsibility to be able to uplift the everyday normal woman that's in those positions of powers as well, because we don't see that a lot. And I think we have to, because right now I'm about tired of seeing the Cardi B's, the Sexy Reds and Lottos and all these different women that are pushing one thing. If you talk about outside of those types of women and you talk about, powerful black women, the only names that you're going to hear is Kamala Harris, Oprah, and, after 2 or 3, it's just like, all right, we're done. So, bro, there are so many talented, bossed up, educated, intelligent black women that are extremely successful that we're not hearing about enough. And the moment that we do hear about them, which is why I was on you or us, or we was talking about it last episode, the moment we do hear about a couple of them, people are attacking them. Like the Dr. Bryans that we were just talking about. The moment we see them, they're getting attacked because it's turning into, well, why this? Well, why that? Well, why da. And it's just counterproductive. The same way people almost wanted to attack Kamala Harris when she was with a significant other that didn't look like us at first. Let's not act like the last time she was running for president that didn't come up. So I just think I would like to see more. Just like as we do on the men's side, I would like to see more everyday women of power that looks, like us.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's exciting. Honestly, I'm gonna tell y'all this. It puts a pep in my step. I'm just excited that we have somebody that can string the sentences together. So nothing against Joe, but like it's just like it give you a breath of fresh air whenever you hear her talk compared to before.
You can put a sentence together.
Right,
you ain't sleeping during your
Yes. It's
Is that what we've come to in this country?
Gosh, and to even like nothing against Trump, but to hear somebody that is going for this position that just sounds so educated and so well spoken. I think that no matter how you feel about Obama, nobody can sit here and say you didn't like listening to that man talk.
If he couldn't do nothing, he could speak.
He could speak. That man could.
And Michelle.
Yes, it's so captivating, right? I love
that DNC. They both. I mean, they bought it. That probably was the greatest speech I ever heard.
Yes, it's so. And I mean, I don't know, and I love too, like all the we just mentioned Obama. We're talking about Kamala. We're talking about that. I'm like, it's us black people though. Like that's like Martin Luther King. We got that charismatic, can speak, and I love when it is in a position where it can be shown, right? And I'm like, Trump is very educated, very successful businessman, all that, but she can outspeak him. I feel like on an educational level, like by miles. Right. And I'm excited, to see that banter and
I'm excited, very.
Right? Like very. I think it's gonna be great. So let's just move into a little question though. Since we are talking about this, do you guys feel like, you guys have female friends, you have wives, do you feel like this will bring an increased amount of female vote?
1,000%. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to, we saw this happen with Obama when there was an uptick in the number of black men voting. The unfortunate part that comes with that is the voting with ignorance, without knowing, having a full understanding of policies and things of that nature, just more so voting with the familiar face. And I do think that we're going to see that with Kamala Harris. So, there is some positive things that come about that uptick. We just want to make sure people are doing their research and having an understanding of what's going on, as opposed to it's a black woman. All the sororities of the country have band together.
Everywhere.
You know what I mean? Like, how many times we've seen these sororities get together and they're like, this is what we're doing. So we're doing, they're all on board. Yeah. But we don't want it to come with ignorance is all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree with everything Tobin just said. I mean, pretty much you hit it spot on. I mean, I think I just agree. I agree with everything.
Yeah, I think that one good thing about this though is she is an AKA, right? And those are usually very intelligent women, you know. So I'm hoping that even though they're going for it because of that, but they also have done their research as well. Like, we're gonna err on the side of positivity with that. Like, it's a very, you know, they're gonna vote for that girl, but also for the right reasons. Like, they are very educated.
They would vote for her regardless.
They're very educated women.
They sticking together.
Yeah, they are.
They saw her concert.
We know how them sororities do. All right, you stick a delta in there, she can. It don't matter.
Yep.
All right,
but it's nothing like Black women. When we want to get together and get something done, we get something done.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, man, she didn't even know years ago when she was pledging AKA how this was gonna.
Nah, true. That's very true.
Like, how this was gonna pay off for her in the long run. So, I'm just interested to see how the voting days go, and I know we're gonna see a sea of pink and green everywhere, like, for real.
It's coming.
Yeah, because you know, AKA's extra. They're gonna be walking to the polls, letting it be known, and they're pink and green and everything.
I'm curious. I don't know if we spoke about this the last episode, but we didn't really get into like the Meg Thee Stallions and things like that, who have publicly endorsed her. With their platform, but also the idea of the concert that they put on at the DNC. Did we get into conversations about that, kind of the effects that we feel like that have for Black women or just people in general?
We didn't, but I feel like when we get into that, we have to talk about the other side as well. I mean, if you look at the other side, I mean, they have Hulk Hogan and, you know,
Amber Rose with the tattoo,
ripping the shirt off.
Tattoo. We're getting advice from somebody with a tattoo on their forehead.
Just all the farmers walking up there with the farmer gear on. So is Meg Thee Stallion really endorsing her, or is she just being paid to perform? You know, that's something that we would just never know.
Yeah.
You know, we would never know. She obviously is collecting a check as well.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where it's just like, you know, are they going to turn down $1 million to perform?
Right.
And it's just like, why would you?
Yeah, the only thing that doesn't sit well with me is almost like challenging our intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you mentioned the girl with the tattoo on her forehead. Like, what could Amber Rose bring to this conversation that makes me think that I should listen to her take on, you know, Trump's policies or anything of that nature? What makes you think that you could bring Quavo out here to talk about gun violence when you make music about gun violence? It's just like I understand wanting to get the familiarity with the young crowd, the young vote, but it's like, man, there's got to be a better way to go about it.
So what this does is actually tying into the next, you know, point.
Yeah.
But you know what this does is it plays into the emotions of both sides. And what on the Democratic side, what it's doing is it's playing into race politics. It's playing into, okay, I know that these large groups of people that may be that I have access to into voting for me, this is what they listen to. This is what they do. This is what I think that they do. As a Democratic Party, we think that a lot of Black people like shaking their ass everywhere, or like dancing, or like listening to these particular groups of people. So we're going to bring them up here to perform. You know, on the Republican side, we think that a lot of these people, you know, into the American pride, and when you look at some of these wrestlers and how Hulk Hogan used to always come out with the American flag bandana, and he's just a true patriot and all that stuff, and you know, they're playing into emotional politics on the other side as well. So I think that it's important for everyone watching this episode to pretty much mute that. Okay. Yeah. Both sides do it. It's not just the Democrats that do it. It's not just the Republicans that do it. Both sides do it. I think we have to mute it. I think what we have to do is dive more into the policies of what fits you the most. We talked about it in the last time we had this episode, a little bit about, we want to hear more about the policies, but we didn't dive into at that time what the policies were because, quite frankly, it was Biden against Trump, and we kind of already knew a little bit. But this time around, we need to know, like, what is Kamala Harris's policies that she's going to want to implement if she becomes president for the United States of America. And we want to know, Donald Trump has Project 2025, roaring around over his head. Just so we want to know, and then he's denounced it. He's said Agenda 47 is his deal. So let's talk about it. We want to know, what is Agenda 47? What is these policies that you're trying to implement, and how does it affect us as Black people? And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Educate us, Brother Mike. Educate us.
Don't mind if I do. No, but first and foremost, I think when we get into policies, what we need to first of all do is get these people's stances on certain
big issues.
Certain issues.
Yeah.
Certain big issues, like you said, Char. So first one is going to be education. Okay, we all know education is very, very important in our country. All right. Especially K through 12, we believe that is when the youth is kind of, we're molding the youth into being what they are. Everyone knows by the time you get to 12th grade, you kind of have a good understanding of like where you're heading in life from that point. All right. So if you look at Trump's proposal for K through 12, he is a big proponent of having the parents elect school principals. He wants to cut federal funding to any school teaching critical race theory, is what he calls it, which means ending, funds to any teachers that are pushing race.
Right.
Which we kind of have an idea what that means.
So no Black history in school.
Black history, and they're trying to abolish those things. I think if you've seen Supreme Court, you recently came and ruled down that should no longer be taught in a lot of our schools. It looks like Trump is a proponent of pushing back against that. All right. And he wants to actually cut funding for schools that go against that.
Or even just like language in certain things.
Or even the language in books of certain things.
Which is just simple American history.
Yes. Right. And if you look at Kamala views on this, one thing I'll say up front is Kamala Harris haven't officially till date come out on a lot of different topics and I guess publicly have said her stance. So what we have to do is we have to go with history and or Biden of what she's supported. So right now, similar with Biden, she wants to increase education spending, and she believes in affirmative action and calls the Supreme Court. There's a Supreme Court ruling that ruled against affirmative action for universities. We'll get into a little DEI, all that kind of stuff. But what Kamala Harris wants to do is increase teacher spending, teacher salaries up to $13,500 for the teachers. She believes that should be done federal. Trump believes that should be done with your local state government. What you guys think? What's your opinion on those things?
I think I'm federal to make sure, because what if your local and state government don't rule for it? Or what if you're in a area that you truly cannot, that's not, your funds need to go elsewhere, And my mom's a teacher, my aunts, my cousins, I have a lot of educators in my family, and they do not get paid nearly enough. And it is way worse now what they have to deal with children. I don't know if y'all saw was it the principal that the kid hit her and she's blind in her eye?
Yep.
Like
not get paid enough for that.
They don't get paid nearly enough. And I know it is a selfless job. It is, you love kids and all that, but we do need to show them appreciation and guaranteeing. Now, if they're state and then want to give more, but I feel like as a whole, we do need to guarantee, like federal government, that they do get an increase.
Okay.
So.
And just for the record, looking on, if we're looking opposing on the opposite side of that, so what happens is the government has a budget that they allocate towards certain things when they're giving it to states, right? So essentially, if on Trump's side, what he's basically saying is, if we give you $100 million and you want to spend 80 of that $1 million on education, that's your prerogative. If you want to put some of that money towards other things for your state and spend less on education and then more on those, that's up to you. But on the other side, the Democrats are saying, no. When we give this money, you have to spend it on education, and then you allocate the other things, right?
I think there's got to be an emphasis on education. And I say that because I think we're in a fortunate position growing up in Texas where things are all great, but I've lived in other states where they might not have those resources. I lived in Louisiana. I lived in New Orleans.
Oh, I've heard about that education.
when you
Left
living
up
in
to
New Orleans.
when I was with the Saints.
Oh.
But you just look at the way that the city is. They are so far behind in everything.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Architecture, that's fitness, that's
Right.
just everything. The city is just behind. If left up to the state to do something about that, they're not going to be able to do all the things that are needed in that area to solve the problems happening. I think.
So in their case, you would say let's tackle education before we tackle these roads, before we tackle
Absolutely.
all food and hunger and homelessness.
All that shit need to be fixed there. Trust me when I say that.
But
yes.
yeah.
But I think it's a trickle effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you push education and we get people, because honestly, too, we have a lot of people who don't want to be teachers because it's not paid enough. But maybe if you increase it, you get more people who are actually passionate and better teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, I think it's a trickle, right? So then we are going to get more intelligent people where architecture or things, we are going to get more intelligent people that go instead of being like on the streets. And I just think it'll take a while, but it will trickle down to those things so that overall the city is better, you know?
I agree. I think the future is always the kids. The next generations are the future of everything, of our country, of the economy. They are the future, which is why I don't believe that these people at the top that's on their way out, 83 years old, should
life
be making,
is behind them at that point.
should be making decisions for a fresh kid's life that's just starting. But I think we can all agree that education is something that should be federal. I don't think it's something that should be left up to the states. That's our opinion on this thing. For the record, I'm personally independent. Yeah. So these issues are crucial to me in who I'm voting, because again, I'm one of those guys that's a proponent of you have to earn this vote over here.
Yeah.
We don't play those games that these other politicians try to play.
And you really got to choose the better of the situation, because I'm not going to agree with everything that Kamala Harris is doing. And I'm not going to agree with everything that Donald Trump is doing. So you really got to make that decision after educating yourself on what makes the most sense for you.
And I feel like also you have to realize too that a lot of it, like when Kamala Harris gets into office, a lot of times you don't really see the effects of what they've done until years later, or the next person, right? So if you have kids, this is what's going to affect. Like your voting now is going to affect your kids as they get older, right? Like our kids will probably start seeing this when they're like middle school. Mine will be high school, So it's very important too to know that these aren't going to happen like now, but the future of your kids coming up in the next like 10 years, that's when they're going to feel the effects of like what person you voted in like right now.
So to move on to, we talked about K through 12. Now, when you get into universities, that's another big time topic. I think we get into a little bit about affirmative action that we get into. There's that term DEI that they have recently abolished affirmative action as it relates to higher education. And a lot of companies have been slashing their DEI departments in a lot of these different sectors around the country. So the question here, would be, are you guys somebody that supports affirmative action? Do you believe in DEI? Do you think that it's something that pushes our race forward, or you're somebody that would rather see it done to where they don't question your path or authenticity. Running it back. Or do you feel like you would go the path to where they don't have to question your history of how you got there. Hold on. To go forward with that, Trump is proposing getting rid of colleges and universities, objective that promotes affirmative action. Okay, It's already been ruled against that. He also wants to propose a significant fine on colleges and universities that he believes discriminates against students, with a plan to use those fines to create a free online academy that will cover the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, is what they call it. This is a part of Trump's 47 agenda. So basically, what he wants to do is, he does not believe in affirmative action. He believes that everybody should have an equal, there shouldn't be one race group over another that should be able to go into college. All right. He believes that everybody should be able to be on the same level in application, things like that. All right. Kamala she believes in measures to enhance equal opportunity. So she wants to create a fund directly impacting lower income families to be able to help these people to get an access to higher education that they wouldn't normally. Also, she wants to, she believes that DEI is a good thing, and she has quoted it, the Supreme Court's ruling, as a denial of opportunity. Okay, so what are you guys' thoughts on that?
So I think it's not realistic to say, equal opportunity for everybody like Donald Trump is pushing, because not everybody has the same starting point.
Right.
Starting from, and as their kids going through the education system, depending on, where they live geographically, regionally, and things like that, they're all starting from different places. So when you get to that point of trying to get to college admissions and things like that, they're just simply not in the same space. So that I think it makes sense to have a system in place that allows for some of the people who come from lower income cities and regions to be able to get into these spaces and things of that nature. Even aside from college admission and things like that, we've also seen the effects of different professions. I know we use football as an example a lot because we played while we're all athletes here. But what that type of promotion has done to bring more black head coaches into the league, bring more black quarterbacks into the league, basically positions of power. And I think that is a long effect, your trickle-down effect of affirmative action, in my opinion.
So I think, this is my opinion. I think that, number one, for the record, Kamala Harris historically has been a proponent of increasing HBCU budget spending, right? Increasing the HBCU budget spending. Now she ain't done it, why has she been in office? That's one thing to say it, but you haven't done it when you've been in office. For the record, Donald Trump he has actually giving money and increased federal funding to HBCUs. Here's my opinion on it. I think that when it comes to black higher education, we have access to higher education. That's what historically black colleges are for. That's a direct avenue. There's many of them. I think that our initiative should be directed towards increasing funding for those universities. I don't think that we should be directing the energy into higher education affirmative action, because when we do place these black people in high position of power, what do they then say? They say that you're only here because you've been placed here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's just another knock on our, our credibility of what we've been. Even Kamala, look, they're trying to knock her credibility, And it's just like once you get to the top, you're always, as a black person, gonna have somebody that's gonna be able to tell you you're not supposed to be here. And I personally believe affirmative action, DEI, and those things gives those opposition a reason to say that. So me personally, I think we should increase the HBCU spending, forget about DEI and affirmative action, and then because we have this opportunity, I don't think that they should even ask what your race is on the applications.
I agree with
I
that.
don't even want. I don't
agree.
delete that. Why should I have to tell you that I'm black, I'm African American, I'm white, I'm Asian? It shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're going based off of true merit, it should not even matter what race you are.
I agree with that.
And that's what I think. That's my opinion on it.
Well, you sure?
I'm in the middle, right? And I'm like that. I'm like, if we don't, I'm okay with either one, but if we don't, let's say we don't go with it, affirmative action, we get rid of DEI, there has to be changes, right? Like that. There should be no asking what your race is on the application, because I could see it if they do know, if they're not held accountable, they will just hire white people or whatever, somebody, you know, like, or I know also because of DEI, we have to turn away maybe little Johnny or Susie because we have to allow this person to have the opportunity, whereas I don't think they will now, you know? And I love historically black colleges. I think they're great, but if you are somebody that you want to go to like the Ivy League or you want to do this and you have all of the you know, grades, you've done everything, but they're looking at a race and we know that they're going to choose, if you're hand in hand, they're probably going to choose little Johnny over Miss Janique. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that's how I feel. But I'm okay with us not. Like, I'm okay with us putting the funding in HBCU because I do think these are amazing colleges.
Absolutely.
Like, these create some of the most intelligent people in the world, intelligent black people. So if we don't, that's a great idea. Like, we need to just erase race from the application, because now what do we need it for? We don't have to make sure we have at least 10% of this or 5, because I feel like that's why that's the reason, one of the reasons they ask it now, because they have to keep this certain like ratio. But if we're getting rid of that, then we don't even need to know. We just need to look at on paper, what has this person done, their qualifications, and pick the best one from there. You know, unfortunately, even without that, with social media and everybody, there's always a way around. Because now that I'm thinking about it as well, you know, the moment you put an HBCU on that application,
they know
they're
gonna use that process of elimination. You know what I'm saying? The moment they put Harvard, Yale, Stanford, you know, you can eliminate the university. You know, you can eliminate that as well. Like, why? Look, you went to Yale to earn the education. You didn't go to Yale so that you can let all these jobs and universities know that you went to Yale, because what's going to happen is,
but some people did, though.
They're going to continue picking the Yales and the Stanfords and all these people over, you know, the Prairie View A&Ms and the you know, and all those guys. So,
but that's why a lot of them go to these universities, because they feel like they are going to be chosen first. They're going to be a top pick, and a lot of people who are in that Ivy League, like, you're in that small group of people, they look out for each other. You know what I'm saying?
You can't get rid of everything, though. You're going to get rid of the race, then we're going to get rid of school. You're going to take your first name off, so they
I feel you. You know, it's just, it's balanced and it's hard. It's like, it's almost like it's never a 100%, you know, leak-proof, you know, fix to these things. But you know, I think the best of both worlds, it can start with eliminating the race. I think most people would agree to that, you know, eliminating the race. Well, let's move on to climate change. Climate change has been another major topic in climate change. Everyone knows, dating back to Obama. Obama was real big on going green. Obama was real big on electric cars, you know, kind of improving the air and the pollution. Biden, his VP, adopted pretty much all of Obama's policies. So I'll read right here. So it says, the U.S. again would leave the Paris Climate Accord, and the ex-president has proposed getting rid of President Joe Biden's policies restricting emissions and targeting 67% of new vehicles to be electric by 2023, and massively scaling up oil and production. So basically, Trump is real big on traditional oil and production, oil and gas, which is Texas. That's Texas. So Texas would directly benefit from. I'm just playing, y'all. I'm trying to go in the middle. So.
But that's one of the things, though, that you vote for what is going to affect you.
You vote, exactly. Like, so, you know, when you look at Trump's presidency, guys, from an economy standpoint, he's saying that a lot of our money in the oil and gas industry sector here in the U.S. is in the oil and gas, and that can help the economy big time. So what he's advocating against is this big push towards electric cars, all right? Looks like Kamala has not recently came out and made her stance on climate change, but over time and history has shown that she's adopting Joe Biden's policies restricting emissions and promoting electric cars to be almost 70% electric by 2032.
Wow.
So what are you guys' stance on climate change? Are you guys on, traditional oil and gas, which have kept our pretty much our country and a lot of our economies, especially our state? Everybody knows Texas is a big time oil and gas state. Or are you on that Tesla side? You know what I'm saying? Are you like, do you want to plug and go? What you guys think?
I'm in the middle, right? For me personally, I live in Texas, and not only Texas, but Dallas is oil money. Like, oil, you know what I'm saying? Yes. And that's going to benefit and help me. Oil and gas to me is like, we need, like you said, that to keep things going. So I'm for, like, okay, yeah, let's not take away that because we need it. But I do think that we still need to do something to help, because climate change is real. I mean, I feel like we feel it, right?
Yeah.
Like the heat and the pollution in the air. We drive and we see these like big old warehouses, and it's just polluting the air with and it does affect it. You know what I'm saying? Like the sun and all those. I do believe in that. But for my personal and where I live at, like, I don't want to just get rid of oil and gas. And also, I mean, personally, I'm just not an electric car person. You truly got to plan out like your trips if you're going somewhere far and stop and charge. And that's just not for every household. That's also not realistic. You know what I'm saying? So I'm rolling with the oil and gas. We need that here in Texas.
Yeah, I think they should make those things more accessible. So if the goal is to have X amount or X percentage of electrical vehicles by a certain point, you've got to make things more accessible. There's got to be way more resources for, like you mentioned, having to plan your trips and things like that. It just has to be that way. This kind of reminds me of what we spoke to earlier about these politicians who are kind of on their way out. You know what I mean? So it can seem to be short-sighted with a lot of their thinking. You know what I mean? Whereas with pollution and things of that nature, or climate change, they're not going to see the effects of that.
Yeah.
So how much do they really have that in mind when it comes to putting these policies out there? So I think if you're younger and you're going to feel those effects of it, which we already are at our age right now, I think it makes more sense to keep that in mind and make those things more accessible with more resources.
Yeah, our kids are going to feel, our grandkids, God bless, will still be alive. Like, they're the ones you're going to have to deal with, like, we just overlook it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, because from an economic standpoint, you have to realize that everything that you're doing is going to have an effect on something. You know? So we start really running away from oil and gas. I mean, guys, we use oil and gas very often. You know, you're going to start seeing your light bill go up. You're going to start seeing your gas when you go to put gas in your car. Those things are going to go up. And there's so many different things that are built in that industry, in that sector, especially if you're talking about Texas. I mean, Texas is one of the leaders in the country in that market, and I think it's something to definitely look into. So, all right, moving on. We are going into Justice Department crime. You know, this is going to be, crazy enough, heavy Kamala Harris. You know, because she is a former district attorney. So, Kamala Harris, so weeks after the George Floyd incident, Kamala Harris was very public promoter of defund the police. Okay. And she has since went silent on. Okay, so she's changed her views after she became VP and was not opposed to increasing police spending, but prior to VP and in her record as a DA, she defended, number one, the death penalty in California. Kamala Harris defended it. And a statewide measure to legalize marijuana, which would have a direct negative effect amongst African Americans, which she opposed. So basically what this is saying is Kamala Harris defended the death penalty, and she opposed legalizing marijuana in California, which means that there, statistics shows that there was a lot of black people, African Americans, that was being incarcerated for marijuana in California, and she received a lot of scrutiny because she was also a proponent of pushing for higher bails during this time as well as her time as DA.
Okay.
So if we look at Trump has pledged to appoint U.S. attorneys who would be aligned with his policies and investigate some left-leaning local district attorneys, also pledging to establish a force which will protect the right to self-defense and fight anti-conservative bias at law schools and law firms. Basically, also what this is saying is Trump is trying to defend the police. So if the police gets into some type of altercation or whatever it is, Trump's believe that these police people should be protected. And from what it seems like the Democrats are against that as well. So what are you guys' thoughts with that? I know that was a lot that was being thrown at you.
This is one of those things, and I know we talked about black people being emotional when it comes to their vote and doing your research and all of those things. This is one topic I'm perfectly fine with people being emotional about because of all the trauma we've seen and continue to see in the community, the unjust killings that we've seen. And it's continued. I mean, it's crazy. Even back many, many years ago, like this is happening over and over again. And it's hard to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially as a black man, seeing people that look like you be treated like that, be killed, and then the repercussions don't match what they're doing. Yeah. So this idea of immunity for police, I think that has to be situational because you look at the evidence, look at the circumstances, and make the judgment. But this idea that we're protecting them at all costs, I don't agree with that at all. Right. I can't get down with that. Even with the most recent one with the woman, I believe it was Sonia Massey, was that her name? Yeah. The idea that a situation like that under those policies, that officer that we see on the body cam, completely in the wrong, you're going to justify his means of ending her life. Right. I'm not down with that. I can't rock with that.
I'm the same. I don't think. Now, I love police officers. Don't get me wrong. I'm for. If they are right, yes, let's protect them because we do need them to keep the cities and everything, in order. We need order and law and rules for sure. But I don't think we should, like you said, like immunity and everything. I think that they wear body cams, right? So let that speak for itself. If you were truly innocent in this situation or it was, I don't know, you really felt threatened. Because just because you're a police officer does not mean you don't feel threatened, you know? Right. So if you really felt threatened and it was justified, I think it'll show that. Right. Why do we have to, immunity or kind of protect you at all costs where you're not, there's no justice for another person that it was a wrongdoing. So I'm not for that. I am for giving them a fair shot. I don't think that we should just, they're so wrong before getting the evidence. That's one thing that we are blessed to have is the evidence. I think them making them wear body cams is the greatest thing ever. Yes. And so I'm just like, that will speak for itself. If you know that you're a good-hearted policeman and you're always going in with the right intention, I don't think you're worried about this, right? Because you know that you are always doing.
So to wrap up the police segment here, most people that are pro-police in this situation would say that a lot of these errors are coming from a lack of funding as well, and it's been a big controversy surrounding increased or the decrease of police funding. It seems like historically the Democrats as well as Kamala Harris after the George Floyd incident was a proponent of defunding the police, and it seems like the Republicans and Trump are big proponents of increasing police funding. So what do you guys, what's your take on that? Because I feel like on one hand, I think we can all agree that the police have body cams. If they commit crimes just like anybody else, they should be prosecuted just like anybody else. But on the same token, I feel like once you're on one side, you have to select: are we going to defund them or increase them, or are we going to defund? So what are you guys' opinion on it? Do you think we should increase police funding, or do you think we should decrease police funding. Because the Democrats are saying that we should decrease it. The Republicans are saying we should increase.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm not the one that I can't pick one side because I don't think defunding them is going to help. I think if we fund them more and we give them more training, you know, more awareness or how to act on these situations. I've watched, you know, it's just shows where they have a particular team when someone is maybe acting erratic or different that can come in and de-escalate the situation. Like you're getting paid to be able to come in and be an expert in these situations so that, you know, this cop that doesn't know how to handle it doesn't know how, you know, doesn't do something like that or take someone's life because they feel threatened even though that person wasn't, you know?
Right.
So I don't think we should, I don't think this is one of those things where like these people hold so much weight. They literally are carrying guns. They literally are walking the street. I don't think that the punishment for them should be like, well, we're going to take this away from them. That's only going to make it worse. You know, like, no, we need to give them these trainings and to put them in these situations and pay for things like that so they can feel comfortable and know how to act and know how to react. We need to pour into them and show them, you know, like, no, this is how you de-escalate this situation. Don't just automatically go for your gun or whatever, you know?
I mean, and I don't necessarily know if the result of defunding or pouring more money into it, I'm not sure what the direct result of that would be, just to be very honest with you. In terms of the policies, though, going back to the immunity, it's just, to me, that opens a door for unjust killings, and that's the part that I just can't get with. However we can get away from that, that's what I lean towards, just to be honest with you. Because I do think there's pros and cons to funding and defunding them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of politics, because what happens a lot in politics, and this is why I'm a big proponent of like bipartisan bills, like meaning like you're making a bill on both sides, and they don't do that anymore. But the politics is, it's just like, you know, once you select a side, you have to select every single thing that side wants to do, and you have no choice. Like talking here, we all are in agreement of, you know, we don't agree with these police getting full immunity, but we also, most of us seems like we're agreeing that the police should be increased funding, right, for the police. And we think that may, well, at least me and Char thinks that may have a positive effect. Okay, last thing for the day that we're going to go on, and we're going to talk a little bit about immigration. I saved the best for last because we all know illegal immigration, you know, a lot of these border security, border patrol has been one of the main topics of this presidency, of the last election, of the election before that, and of the election before that. You know, so one thing that we know for sure right now is that Donald Trump is for protecting our borders. Okay, he's for protecting our borders. Donald Trump wants to deport illegal immigrants. All right. He does not want to give citizenship to illegal immigrants' kids. All right. And he wants to increase funding to border security. All right. Historically, I'm gonna read real quick. It says Trump plans to prohibit undocumented immigrants from receiving any benefits. He wants to end birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants. He wants to reinstitute a travel ban from certain countries. He wants to pause refugee admissions. He wants to mandate extreme vetting of foreign nationals. He wants to block federal grants to sanction cities. And he wants to end the catch and release practice of releasing migrants while they await immigration hearings. He wants to close the southern border, and he wants to drastically increase border security, funding for border security. Kamala Harris has been extremely quiet. One thing that we have seen so far, though, we have to note this, though, in terms of policy, Kamala Harris have been loud on, the Democrats have been loud on, doing the race politics. They've been promoting, she as a black woman and this and that. But looking at these policies as we've gone down the line so far, it has just been noticeably loud that she has chosen to be quiet on a lot of issues, which I think are very important issues that we should know about. All right, now we have to go with historically, okay, since she's been quiet and she's distanced herself from it. Historically, Kamala and the Democrats have pivoted recently into being in the middle. Now, before, they wanted to give birthright citizenships to immigrants. If you came to this country and you had a kid, your kid was a citizen. All right. They also wanted to increase funding to help illegals be able to come out of hiding in the country and say, hey, I'm an illegal. Here is the path to citizenship. Democrats want to go that route. Republicans and Trump wants to go find these people and send them back home. Okay. So as of right now, there's been a new security bill that the Democrats came out to pledge for, and it was voted down by the GOP. They voted it, the Senate, GOP Senate, voted it down, and that bipartisan bill did not pass. It was supposed to be a security bill. The reason that the bill didn't pass is because on that bill, the Democrats included, from a bipartisan, they were like, look, we'll give you your border stuff that you want, but you gotta approve that funding that we want over to Ukraine. Okay, so the Democrats put the Ukraine funding on our security bill and sent it over to the Republicans. Republicans seen it. They don't want to give more billions of dollars to Ukraine. They shot the bill down. What do you guys think about that? What's you guys take? Are you supporting the bill or are you against the bill? What is
So we're talking specifically about the bill right
immigration
now.
and in the bill.
Okay. Immigration, it's one of those ones I'm in the middle again. But I feel like this is one that directly affects us because Texas,
does.
we are right there.
On the border.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think that if you were born here, even though your parents are illegal, you should automatically have citizenship. What if you're not found until you're 15 and you have to go back and there's nothing left? This is your home. That's foreign to you. Like if you're a child that was born here, and they didn't do anything wrong. It's not their fault. It's very unfair to the child. And it would stink too if their parents had to go back and they couldn't. But also the parents would have the choice. Like if they wanted their kid to go back with them, they could if they have someone to stay. I also feel like if they are here and we can direct them to a path to get a citizenship. You're already here. You've been here, right? I think that if you are trying, right? Like if you're just trying to stay hiding and stay under the table or anything like that,
I don't think
okay.
none of them are trying to stay hiding.
Well,
they're just scared
I'm just
that if
saying
they come
scared.
out, they're gonna
but
go
I'm
back.
just saying, like you have to we want to see you like do what you need to do to go on that path. Because also, I mean, some people they just don't want to deal with it or lazy. It's a lot of work. They have to go through interviews. You have to go here, sign paperwork, do all this. It is a lot of work. But if you truly do want to go the right path, you'll do the work. So I feel like for people who are already here, I'm fine with that. You've already done all this work. You're here. You have a kid that's here too for those families as well. And I think those families should be first. If you have a child, those are the ones who should get priority. If your child was born here, and you would like to become a citizen, I think that we should. Now, on the other end, I do feel like on the Trump side, on the Republican side, I mean, we should increase border patrol. Like, I'm not just saying, like, everybody just come in, If you're already here, you got to pass, let's do it. But border patrol, no. I don't know everybody's situation. I do know that it's sad. I do know they're trying to escape a terrible situation, and not everybody has the opportunity to do it the right way, but it should be done the right way. You know what I'm saying? It stinks. It's not a win-win. I know that we are so blessed to live in America where, unlike other countries who don't have these opportunities, but also it's one of those things where it stinks, but you do kind of got to be selfish because we got to protect our country and ourselves as well,
Tobin, what's your thought?
This is one of the things where Trump was basically talking about these people coming in and taking black jobs, right? You know what I mean? And I get what he's saying, but let's be honest about what they're doing.
Right? Let me clarify. That's as it relates to black people, but immigration is it's larger than just a black issue.
For sure, yeah.
Immigration is a general issue of our country.
But I'm just talking about when he's talking about illegal immigrants coming here and taking black jobs, or the worst people from these countries are coming over here. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think we see a lot of them be hardworking people doing tasks and jobs that other Americans simply don't want to do, doing it at a cheaper cost than other people want to do. And there's a lot of benefit to them coming over here. And especially I'm thinking here in Texas, where people from south of the border come here and they do these, whether it's construction jobs or other blue collar work that people just simply aren't doing at a cheaper labor cost. So there is some benefit to them doing that. I think as long as you're actively pursuing citizenship, then I'm okay with that. It's hard to say, like, you know, which one of these people are murderers, which one of these people are criminals, and things like that. So in a sense, I understand wanting to increase border the security, but there's also benefits in allowing some of these things to happen as long as they're actively pursuing.
Right, but playing devil's advocate for what you just said, right? Because I'm only playing devil's advocate. Playing devil's advocate for what you just said. They come over here and they do get those construction jobs and those, you know, plumbing and electrical jobs and stuff like that. They are taking jobs away from actual citizens that are here, right? Yeah. And when you talk about a bad economy or a struggling economy and everybody's trying to make ends meet, what you're doing is prioritizing illegal people from another country over your own, right? And then number two would be, you know, when they do come over here and when they do get those jobs and construction jobs and all that, and then they do have kids and their kids become citizens of this country, what happens is taxpayers' dollars are paying for the deliveries of those kids. They're paying for the well-beings, and these are typically low-income people. They go off and they get low-income, you know, funding, you know, to be able to do things, and that comes from taxpayers' money. And and it's not the government that's funding these people. The cost comes on to the citizens people, of that of the people and the citizens of that area. So it's something to look into and something to consider. So what, you know, to end here, you know, what I've gathered from talking about these, you know, key issues here is we have things that we like on both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
We have things that we like on both sides, and the more that people get online and they're just like, oh, you're da-da-da-da-da. And whether it's Democrats, whether it's Republicans, continue to do your research, guys. I did my research. I came here. I gathered the facts. I gathered these are true quotes that was given by these candidates, and I presented it to you guys. I hope that was able to be beneficial to you guys. But go back and do your own research before you vote, please.
Absolutely.
I completely agree. This was, I know. Let's give a clap to Mike on that, because it was very. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna challenge you. You know what? Instead of ending with a question, I'm gonna end with a challenge. You cannot deny, if you watch this episode, that you did not learn anything, and even if you knew all these things, just agreeing or like hearing our opinions about it. It was a great topic and a very informative, educational episode. I'm going to challenge you. Send this to somebody. Send it to somebody so that they can be informed. The more informed we are, the better everybody is. Our country as a whole, our race, our brothers, our sisters. It only benefits you. Educating yourself only benefits you all the time.
Absolutely.
So we're ending this one with a challenge. Send this to at least one person and just say, hey, you don't even have to watch. Just turn it on and walk around your house or put it on while you're driving.
Walk around the house.
Yes, you know. And, hey, my girls, instead of on Saturday morning, turning on your R&B, Tony Braxton, Pandora, and cleaning the house, turn this on and
that presidential episode on one time.
Yes, and educate yourself. So I'm challenging you, send it to one, and even more if you want. But I just think, or 5, yes. There's not even for our views or to help us, but just simply to educate one another. And that was a great, easy breakdown, because I think a lot of times people think it's too complicated. I can't understand. That was such an easy breakdown. So anyways, again, my name is Char. This is my guy Tio, and this is my guy Mike.
All Things Considered, episode 8. We out.
Peace.
Hey. dreaming how dreamers do. Most of my life feel like deja vu. Even when the pressure's on, I'm careful how I make my moves. Mamba mentality, I ain't come here to play to lose. Why would I play with you? But if you made me choose,